Today I'll be talking about some of the latest AFL trade rumours. There are a couple that are very interesting, but anyway, let's begin the video. Before the video starts, I just want to mention that I will only be going over some of the main ones as there are so many little rumours here and there that I could talk about. However, this video will be bloody half an hour long, so I'll save that maybe for another video. But anyway, Adelaide forward Shane McAdam could be on the move after spending 4 seasons with the South Australian club. The medium forward played just 7 games in 2023 after producing 23 goals from 17 appearances last year, and the interested clubs is Melbourne. And for me, this is very interesting. Thursday, September 14th, Shane actually requested a trade to the Melbourne Demons. Now, it seems like he's looking for more opportunities. However, wouldn't he get less opportunities at a club like Melbourne? To be honest, he was getting a decent amount of games at Adelaide. I guess he felt like he was going to fall out of favour, but in my opinion, he should have stayed at Adelaide. I don't understand why he's requesting a trade to Melbourne. Maybe North Melbourne if you want more games, but he is 28, so I'm not sure if he will be getting much games in Melbourne. However, Adelaide have offered him a 3-year contract, and if I was him, I would accept that. I wouldn't move to Melbourne, but I guess it's up to him. McAdam is not a free agent, which means Melbourne will need to secure a trade for the goal kicker during the 2023 trade period if they do wish to get him. Anyway, sort of the main trade of the trade period is Brody Grundy. Grundy, you can obviously tell he's quite pissed off. He shouldn't have came to Melbourne. He probably made a mistake as he's just not getting a game, and yeah, it's just a complete disaster of a trade. And it seems like Sydney are leading the race. Port Adelaide have, it looks like, pulled out after Sydney's pitch got Grundy over the line. It looks like Sydney's pitch to Brody Grundy was very, very good and talking about life outside of footy rather than just talking about footy like Port Adelaide did. And it seems like he will be coming to the Sydney Swans. Of course, anything could happen. He could very easily go to another Vic club still, as there are a few clubs that need a ruckman such as Geelong and even bloody Collingwood, but obviously he's not going to go back to Collingwood. But it looks like he will be going to the Sydney Swans, and it does look like he's definitely leaving Melbourne. Just a little one, Western Bulldogs ruckman Jordan Sweet has requested a trade to Port Adelaide. This makes sense as he is a South Australian man, and obviously Tim English, the All-Australian ruckman this year. I don't think he will find a spot in that team at all, so it makes sense. Another one is Essendon defender Brandon Thatcher, and it looks like he will be joining Port as well. From the Port final series, it really looks like Port need to improve their depth and get a lot of defenders and just a lot of players in general. As the Port Adelaide coach even revealed in their press conference after the loss to the Giants that they had to play players injured, which in my opinion, I don't know why they did that, but I guess they had to because they just had poor depth and they just had no availability, so it makes sense they're going for players like Thatcher. Anyway, the 25-year-old played 22 games for the Bombers this season as the club dealt with numerous injury setbacks in its defensive line, and the interested clubs were Port Adelaide and Adelaide, but it looks like he will be going to Port Adelaide as he has requested a trade to Port Adelaide on Wednesday. And he said his main decisions for requesting a trade to Port Adelaide was just family reasons and going back to home, which is understandable. It seems like the Bombers were going to give him a 3-year deal, but of course Thatcher wanted to move to Port Adelaide, so that deal is not going to happen. The next one is Liam Henry. There's been some footage of him packing his bags, leaving Fremantle, and it's of course true as Liam Henry has requested a trade away from the Dockers, with the 22-year-old attracting attention from Victorian clubs. He clearly wants to return home to Victoria, and the interested clubs are Hawthorn and St Kilda. However, recently Liam Henry chooses St Kilda as his preferred destination, which is very interesting. Hawthorn were interested, however, the Fremantle forward picked St Kilda as his preferred destination. So it looks like that will be one of the first trades to happen this trade period. The next one is a Radic Ilyas, who is a Geelong defender and he could be moving to Port Adelaide. There's been rumours of him for like the last couple of seasons that he wants to move to Port Adelaide. However, Geelong managed to hold on to him just. However, it looks like Radic Ilyas had enough this year. I think he wants more opportunities, and Port, desperate for defenders, desperate for any depth players, Radic Ilyas is a fantastic option for them. And he has requested a trade to Port Adelaide on Wednesday, so it looks like Radic Ilyas could be joining Port Adelaide in this trade period. This is an interesting one. Tom Dooley from the Adelaide Crows, the 28-year-old, has received a massive contract offer from the Brisbane Lions. I don't actually understand why Brisbane want a guy like Tom Dooley. He's obviously getting towards the trialer of his career. Brisbane, they have a lot of players in their prime, and I just don't understand why they are going for a player like Tom Dooley, but who knows, they might be wanting to improve their depth, or could be anything. Tom Dooley is a very good player, keep in mind. He is a fantastic player, and that will be interesting to see what he decides to do. The next one is fan favourite Bailey Smith. Hawthorn has emerged as a potential home for Western Bulldogs star Bailey Smith if he decides to leave. Obviously, Smith wants to leave the Western Bulldogs only if he doesn't get more midfield time, according to Sen. It has been a very difficult season for Smith, who hasn't found any form at all, but Geelong is also a potential option for Bailey Smith, who have shown much interest in him. And this is concerning for the Western Bulldogs in my opinion. I reckon they could be the next North Melbourne if they don't get their stuff together. They really need to I reckon they need to sack Beveridge. I reckon they just need to start fresh before things get out of hand, and I reckon it could become out of hand. If guys like Bailey Smith, who would have thought Bailey Smith would be ever leaving the Bulldogs, and now this is happening. Like, they need to fix their club. Anyway, the next one is Ben McLeod, a North Melbourne key defender, who obviously looks like he will be leaving North Melbourne. He's only 25, which is in his prime. The interested clubs were Sydney, Essendon, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn. Sydney obviously want a key defender, so this would be perfect for Sydney. However, I'm not sure if they are leading the race. The race is very 50-50 between Hawthorn, Essendon and Sydney. It looks like Sydney could be ruled out, but I have no clue. Anything can happen and he will definitely be leaving. The next one is Jack Gresham. Gresham looks like he will leave the club, and it makes sense because you got guys like Higgins and Butler who are definitely the preferred small forwards and the better small forwards. Interesting that Carlton have shown interest in him. Like, they have so many good small forwards like Durden, Motlop, Ories, you name it. They have so many small forwards, so I don't know why they're into Gresham. But also another interested club is Essendon, and I reckon Essendon is a better club for him than Carlton. I reckon we will get more game time at Essendon, as Carlton are just stacked with small good forwards. And it does look like Essendon are leading the race for him, which is good for him. And another triple premiership player for Richmond, Dion Prestia, is weighing up his options. The former Sun made the move to Richmond in 2017, but could be open to a move back to Queensland. The interested clubs are Gold Coast and the Brisbane Lions. And Brisbane and Gold Coast are monitoring the Tiger Dion Prestia, so they're definitely going to have some discussions with him. According to multiple sources, he is interested in finishing his career up in Queensland. This trade could very easily happen, and in my opinion, he could be going to Gold Coast and reunite with his former coach, Dimmer, and I reckon that could happen. However, we'll just have to wait and see. Next one is Dustin Martin. This is very interesting. Ahead of former Richmond coach Damien Hardwick's move to the Suns, Martin, 32, is on the verge of a shock exit from the Tigers. Interested clubs are the Gold Coast Suns. Of course, the Richmond star could go anywhere. Who knows what will happen? You would think he would stay at Richmond, but with Dimmer joining the Gold Coast Suns and him wanting to leave the footy life in Victoria, I wouldn't be surprised if he moves to the Gold Coast, but we'll have to wait and see. And the last one of today's video goes to Dylan Stephens. Stephens is 22 and of course is a Sydney Swans winger who has struggled to find opportunities in the Swans team. He did get lots of games last year and was a part of our grand final team. However, he has fallen out of hand of John Lommai's best 22, and other players have, I guess, moved past him, and he hasn't been getting much opportunities, and I understand why he has requested a trade to a Victorian team. North Melbourne looks like they are leading the race for him, but it'll be interesting to see whether Sydney decide to keep him. But anyway guys, those are the latest AFL trade rumours. Of course, those are just the main ones. There are obviously so many more trade rumours that I could talk about. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.